EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. This is officially, in my eyes, the last off-season show until next week. We kick off training camp. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother?
Doing well. Happy, that's something I should have mentioned. Happy ring ceremony day for the Philadelphia Eagles and their fans. So that'll happen tonight. A lot of security around that, so I'm not allowed to say much about it, but it is happening tonight, and obviously training camp's right around the corner.
Is that ring ceremony public, or how do they do that?
No, it's not public. No. Private event.
No. So,
and you can imagine with the kind of bling around that place, you know, they don't want it out there. So, which is understandable. But that'll happen tonight. And I'm sure some of the TV stations will be down for the red carpet and all that kind of stuff. But it is a private event. And they're getting their rings tonight. So that's pretty cool. And there's certain guys coming back. CJ said he was coming back, which I think is interesting on that recent podcast. So, you know, if there are any fences with his teammates that were broken, I think they've been mended. Isaiah Rodgers mentioned he was coming back. So some of the guys are coming back. Some might be in camp. I mean, you know, some might not be able to come back, and that'll be a shame. But obviously, because a stickler, I know already somebody making fun in the chat, but you know, that's the only time that group will be together. That's it.
Right.
You know, the old Fred Shiro quote, "You walk in history together forever." It's the only time. That's it. This is a new group. So it's pretty cool for those guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's pretty cool. Ring ceremony tonight. John, a couple of things. We got a great show planned today. With the final show of the offseason, I want to kind of recap. All right, what did the Eagles do this offseason? And then what are the biggest talking points as we get into training camp? So I think we're going to have a great show. We're going to kind of recap everything to get everybody prepped and ready for the offseason coming up, the training camp preview, the recap of the offseason, and then we'll talk about some big picture things as we close out the show. But before we get there, John, I do want to start on a couple NFL pieces. We wanted to discuss Von Miller a little bit more. He signed with the Commanders recently, and you had some thoughts on that. We didn't really have a chance to elaborate on it. Probably my mistake not bringing it up earlier in the week. But, John, the floor is yours to talk about Von Miller and what you think of that whole situation. I know you had some thoughts pre-show that I think the viewers would appreciate.
Yeah, I you know, to me, it's just indicative of the Eagles off season, which has been very disciplined, very consistent. And I think when Nick Sirianni talked to a bunch of us, earlier, he had tried to push the idea of sustained success, which I'm trouble saying, like Bugs Bunny, but he has been pushing that versus repeat whatever, putting what I call a soft ban on that word. And I got to thinking with Von Miller, and I agree with the philosophy as a whole. I think that's the best way to go about it. And I think that's the way the Eagles have gone about it since really 1999, since Andy Reid got here. That was all rooted in his philosophy. But I do think, in the days when they didn't have one, so back to Super Bowl 52, when they felt the window was open, there was a distinct sense of urgency to go get one.
Right.
Now that they got two, I don't see that same sense of urgency. I think the philosophy is more of, we'll get another one in the next few years, but we want to set ourselves up for that sustained success versus, hey, the window's open again, let's go get another one, which it is. But I I was thinking about that. I'm like, the old Eagles before would have went, all right, we need a little help here. You know, we might be high on Nolan Smith, tremendously high, and they are. They might be high on Jalen Hunt, and they are. And they might think Azeez Ojulari was not used properly and had some injuries with the Giants, and that's probably true. And Josh Uche still got something left in the tank, and that might be true. All that might be true. But the old Eagles would have went, the window's open. Let's go. And
So you think you're thinking in your head here that the Eagles are might be going too far with as you for lack of
I
a better
don't even
word.
know if it's too far more than going too far more than just human nature of success.
Right.
Like they
Right.
don't have the urgency of 0 or even 1 now.
Yeah.
They don't have that same urgency. And
Hmm.
like I said, I mean, you know, in the past, there's always a surprise or two, and there's always the Eagles are going, well, you know, I mean, every time there's people, how many TJ Watt stories were there? Oh, they'll find a way. How many Myles Garrett stories? They'll find a way because of their reputation. They didn't do anything. They signed 12 guys all 1 year, 3.5 million, the most, throughout the entire off season. And people are
You're
still
right.
talking about it.
So you're saying the reputation that they've built up, that's ultimately been a major part of the amount of success they've had. Because of that success, you're not seeing that sense of urgency that ultimately got them to this point in this offseason.
Yeah, at least to the same degree of when they didn't have one.
Oh, I think that's a guarantee. I mean, I think that's a
Uh,
slam dunk. It's definitely not to the same
I'm not
degree.
saying by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying they're not trying to win. They're trying to win. They're trying to win, and that's one of the strengths of this organization. They're trying to win more than most other teams in this league. So I'm not trying to say that, but
But a
I'm
little
saying
bit of complacency is setting in because of all the success.
human nature complacency. Like,
Right.
I can let out a breath. We got 2. And the philosophy is, again, everybody knows in this league, even though they don't like to talk about it, there's a measure of luck that needs to come along with winning Super Bowls, from health all the way down to a couple breaks here and there and games that we've talked about ad nauseum. Happens to everybody, every Super Bowl champion. Stars have to align. So from a macro standpoint, you sit back and say, well, we want to build this sustained success. We want to be good every single year. So when those stars do align, you're in a position to take advantage of it, which is exactly what happened last season. And it might happen again this season. But that was always coupled with, all right, we're really good. We know we're really good. Let's go for it. Now they know they're really good, but there are other things they could have done to alleviate the immediacy. And they were very disciplined, and you can argue they're right. And I would argue they're right because of the things coming down the road. Now, you got to balance that because the
Right.
window's open now.
It's a threading the needle thing. It's a
Yeah.
tough needle to thread.
But I do, I was thinking about that when Vaughn signed. Not that I'd advocate bringing in Von Miller, although, he could certainly help this team. And I'm most concerned about edge rushing. And he did go in the division, and maybe it blows up. He's 36 years old. It's short term. I thought Robert Quinn coming off 19 sacks hey, that's a good idea. He didn't
Right.
do anything. So, Von Miller might not be nothing. The Eagles might have information say, all right, and he's obviously not the same player he once was. But I do see a less sense of urgency. And I think that's related to human nature more than anything else. Got 2. And we'll get another one. Might be this year, it might be next year, it might be 2 years down the road. they tend to think about things in 3-year increments. But Carter will be better. Quinion and Cooper will probably be better. Nolan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You haven't even reached the prime of those guys. So,
yeah, I mean, I do think I see the reason for it. And obviously you pointed out that you see the reason for it too. You're just showing, a little bit of a macro thing. But look, their philosophy was to sign the core guys, and they do have a lot of them, John, coming up. So, I do think, as I mentioned, it's a thread the needle thing of you want to push on the right spots, but are they not able to push as much, even if they wanted to? Because, I got asked the question yesterday. If Keely Ringo pans out, that let's say Keely Ringo has a great year this year, all right, are you paying him?
well, that depends on what type of year. But I mean, if he's an all-pro, you're paying him. I
You're
don't
paying
think
him.
he's
And
going
then
to
you
be.
got
Yeah,
Cooper Quinion. You got Reed Blankenship. You got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. You got Vaughn in the linebacker. Like, there's a lot, man, on that defense. A lot to pay. So I think I understand the philosophy from the core approach, but do you think the lack of aggressiveness this offseason could end up costing them?
and the short term, yeah. I mean, I think there's obvious holes and obvious places where there's not demonstrated performance, and you're counting on guys like Ringo to step up, who may have high ceilings. But history says all those guys are not going to step up. So if you want to expand it to Morrow on the defensive front, and Trotter, having to play, and Sidney Brown or Drew Makuba, they're all not going to hit. So, and there's, Howie's proven that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an August trade somewhere along the line after Vic gets to see what he has, not offensively, but defensively.
It would
Trade.
have to be somebody like a Jahan Dotson on defense in terms of contract, right? It would have to
Exactly.
be,
Yeah.
a cheap contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe last year on his rookie deal, hasn't lived up to expectations in his first city. The Eagles think he has upside, that type of thing. CJ trade. Was good, not great in New Orleans. High maintenance guy, and if you're good, not great, or you were going to pay a guy on the a second contract, New Orleans said no, we're not, so they traded him. That type of guy. And I think you might see that later in August this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow. I do think the point is interesting by you and well taken. I mean, the aggressive nature that the Eagles have had that ultimately got us to this level of winning has obviously changed a little bit this offseason. We'll see how it impacts the team moving forward. Johnny Mac, great opening there on Von Miller. I'm happy we brought that up. It's a lot less about Von Miller signing with the Commanders and a lot more about your thoughts on how that pertains to the Eagles. So good stuff there. John, another topic I want to get into before we dive into our final offseason show. Recap the offseason, preview training camp one more time, and we'll kick off training camp next week. I want to talk about Lloyd Howell. All right, he stepped down as the executive director of the NFL.
Can I toot my own horn? I said keep an eye on that. And
yes, you did. You did.
Day
you did
one.
keep an eye on that. Or we did. And he cited become a distraction to the important work the NFLPA advances every day. I'm sure you have a litany of thoughts on this topic. It's an interesting one with the Carlisle Group and his consultancy with them, and how they relate to the NFL and all of those different things. Your thoughts on Lloyd Howell resigning, John, from the NFLPA?
Well, had to happen. I mean, for all that talk about the collusion grievance, and I use that term liberally, but it was reported wrong, and I said it at the time. The big issue was the NFLPA aspect of it, and the fact that it's clear that the leader of the NFLPA was not holding the best interest of his constituency, can't speak to this morning, at the top of the forefront. And that is just a brutal story from the NFLPA standpoint. The lack of transparency, players not being alerted to agreements between the head of the Players Association and the league. That's the collusion that went on. So the NFL's probably upset because they had somebody in their pocket, basically, to ship things in their direction. Now, because of what went on, I mean, he was elected in a very secretive process with basically no transparency for most of the NFL's players. And now it's 2 years later. Usually, D. Smith was around for years, and it's ridiculous how quick it went off amid scandals and conflicts of interest. And this is a disaster for the NFL Players Association. And it's embarrassing that they let this guy be the head of it. I think the majority of players would have voted in a different direction if they were informed. Hopefully, it shines a light on the need for that transparency, because this union is embarrassing compared to the baseball players and the basketball players. It's embarrassing. And I'm not talking about the bullshit that you'll see every year during NBA free agency about how much Shea makes or somebody like that. That's a math problem. There's 70 players in the NFL. I'm not talking about that bullshit.
Yeah, right.
That's just low-hanging fruit to upset people. I'm talking about fighting for the players. And I'm not talking about quality of life issues, because that's all they fought for. And that was done by design by the NFL, because they're willing to give up that kind of stuff as long as they can get more money, more games. Well, yeah, Lloyd Howell should be ashamed of himself.
It's a disaster, and it's awful for the players. I mean, so he steps down officially. What's next for that situation? How do you?
Hopefully they have a better group of candidates. Number one, and I'm not. I mean,
you mentioned though he got elected in kind of I don't know if it was like a covert operation, but
it pretty much was.
Yeah, I mean, how did that happen? And then what do they do this time that would?
Well, they almost have to keep it transparent this time, so that's good. Because the NFL, they kept the media dark. Forget about the public. Obviously, the players, the old union, they didn't know what was going on.
So the union that's supposed to be protecting the players didn't even keep the players in the loop on things that mattered that were affecting the players.
Yeah. Well, but to the example of the story that Pablo Torre broke and Florio picked up on, right, which was they were kept. They didn't know. They're supposed to be made aware. And don't get me wrong, of the, I don't know, 2,500 NFL players, however many there are, the vast majority are not going to be interested in stuff like that. And they just, that's why they, have people like JC Treader and Warren Burks and people like that to represent their side of it. People are interested and more well-versed. They kept it secret from those guys, not Treader. Treader's part of it, but they kept it secret from the players, the agreement. Like right then, I said that day, he's got to go. I didn't think it would happen this quick.
Yeah, it happened quick. This was a couple of weeks ago we talked about this.
Yeah. But that day, I literally said he's got to go. So hopefully that forces more transparency. But considering it is the most popular sport, that's where it comes in with baseball and basketball. You should have more power than the baseball players. You should have more power than the basketball players because of the popularity in the NFL. They do not. They lag so far behind. And it's a shame, and hopefully they fix it. But it's got to be better than what went on this time. They went too far, the NFLPA, and hopefully that'll force them to make some much needed corrections, I would say.
How bad is the wreck for the next guy that comes in? How hard is this going to be to repair?
I think it makes it easier for him because, well, I think the NFL is upset because the next guy that comes in, I think it makes it easier for him to fight a little bit harder. You know, and Jake Rosenberg tweeted some things, as a former, and remember, he's on management side. And I wanted to pull up because he said some interesting things from the perspective of someone who worked for a club but cares deeply about the players and their welfare. People can roll their eyes, but I think that's true in the case of Jake. They need and deserve a better NFLPA, which is 100% true. Generally speaking, agents protect them far more than the union, yet are treated like the enemy. Always seemed weird. And he's 100% right. And then he put the thing that comes to mind about lots of NFLPA advice to agents on matters impacting players can be summarized as tripping over dollars to pick up pennies.
If agents are protecting the players more than the NFLPA is protecting the players, then the NFLPA has officially been is useless. It's become useless.
Not to the league.
Well, obviously, but that's who wants to control it. The idea of it is to fight back on that.
Exactly. And that's why when everybody focused on the NFL, I was like, we know what the NFL is. That's not a story. The story is the NFLPA.
Right.
And that's the way it shook out. But look, they're going to have to be more transparent this time. So that'll mean a better candidate to fight back against the NFL. And ultimately you want a partnership, and then when the NFLPA fixes its house, then you can go back to the NFL and say,
exactly.
All right, these are,
What's the election process like with that? Like what would transparency look like? Do we even know, or?
No, we don't know. We'll see how they handle it. But I'm sure there's going to be, if they try to be as secretive as they were last time, I'm sure there's going to be much more pushback from not only the media, but also the players themselves.
Yeah. We'll see what ends up happening with that. Lloyd Howell resigns from the NFLPA, and John brings up a pretty decently sized problem there with the players. And that reads out that Jake Rosenberg quote. That's interesting about agents care far more about protecting the players than the union, which again, in my eyes, would effectively deem the union largely useless to the players, which is not a good thing. We'll see how they fix that. Johnny Mac. John, let's get into our Eagles. All right, Tuesday, July 22nd, the Eagles report to training camp. Wednesday, July 23rd, their first practice at the NovaCare Complex. I do want to alert everybody listening to the show today. We will have a much different schedule for the next couple of weeks after this week, okay? So next week, I believe they're on the field for 2 days next week, and then there's 3 days, 1 day, or they're on for 4 days. So anytime that they practice in the morning, our show will be in the evening. We will have a night show because John will be down at the NovaCare Complex early. We will probably do football 24/7s early to try and get you some content early, but not very long. So it'll be a whole different looking schedule for everybody. So make sure you guys stay locked in, even if we're a night show. I'm sure you'll appreciate the great content that John can give after each practice. So keep your eye on that. But John, I'm ready, man. Training camp's kicking off next week. Our last off-season show is Football Friday.
We got Monday, Tuesday, but you can
make the argument, but I feel like next week with camp kicking off, it's not going to feel like the off season.
Right. And I should add that you can always listen on demand at any time. So it shouldn't, and in a lot of ways, I think it's better to talk after practice than pre-practice.
Right.
And obviously you're talking about what happened, but before I jump on, Andrew Brandt just tweeted something out. So to wrap up the NFLPA thing. So here's Andrew. And the reason I get stuff like that right is because of people like Andrew, and talking to them over the years and access. But he tweeted, NFLPA was already known as the weakest of the professional sports unions, having given away things like pro owner revenue splits, 17th game, continued franchise tags, etc., for easy givebacks like practice time, quality of life issues. Now a fire hose of stories of concealment, secrecy, suboptimal. This stuff's been going on for a long time. It just got much, much worse when there was the obvious conflict with Lloyd Howell with the NFL versus somebody like D. Smith, but they still gave up pretty easily. But as far as the Eagles, yeah, I mean, we finally reached the finish line, and maybe it's apropos that the ring ceremony got postponed. It was originally scheduled much earlier, but because that's the last thing from last year, the guys get their rings, and then you move forward. So maybe a nice, obvious demarcation line and training camp, first practice Wednesday morning. And we're off and running all over again. And the good news about that is, again, a lot of things have to go right to win a championship, but the Eagles are one of there's always, if you want to be real, there's always about 5, 6, maybe 7 teams at the most that have a real legitimate chance of being a Super Bowl champion. And if you're in that group at the start of training camp, and the Eagles are, you should feel pretty good as a fan.
No doubt about it. Johnny Mac, let's recap a little bit of what they did this offseason. I know we've talked about it all offseason, but I do want to reset the stage. I want to remind everybody of what happened this offseason, what to look for in camp, and how to be a viewer, a knowledgeable viewer going into training camp next week. Offseason recap, we'll start on the offensive side of the ball, John. Not much change there. Kevin Patullo becomes your new offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore gets hired in New Orleans. Parks Frazier gets elevated. A new quarterbacks coach in, Scott Loeffler, is here. Your thoughts on those offensive changes and what to expect from this new-looking offensive coaching staff coming into this year, with 10 of 11 starters returning, right guard being the only position of change right now for that offense.
Yeah, I think, and there's a couple other, as far as the coaching staff, couple lower level guys. Greg Austin is back because TJ Paganetti went down with Kellen. Kyle Valero went down with Kellen, which made sense because he came in with Kellen. He was one of the few people that Kellen got. And they hired Montgomery Van Gorder as an offensive assistant. People might remember him because he was a quarterback in college at, I believe, Georgia. Well, he's a coach at Georgia. I know he was at Notre Dame and he transferred. So some pretty high profile programs. So he's a part of the staff as well. So much more upheaval with the coaching staff, but I think the continuity remains, because really the only completely new guy is Loeffler at quarterbacks coach. He's the Bowling Green head coach. Comes in to be, work with Jalen Hurts on a day-to-day basis, and Tanner McKee and Kyle McCord and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But even Parks Frazier had a long history with Nick Sirianni back in Indianapolis. So, and Kevin Patullo's, his right-hand man on the team. So I don't think the continuity aspect is going to be a problem on the coaching staff. And then even less so with the players, as you mentioned, 10 of 11 starters. And the guy who's projected to step up has played a decent amount in Tyler Steen. So
even both options there, John. If it's Matt Pryor, he's got tons of experience as well.
Yeah. So everything looks good offensively. The only question is, can they get up to the expectation level, which they haven't really reached over the past 2 years? Number eight. Certainly have the talent to do it, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I wouldn't lose too much sleep over their offense.
No, I'm not losing much sleep. Some of the changes on the player side of things, not changes, but some of the things that happened this offseason. Cam Jurgens signed his big 4-year extension. Saquon Barkley added some years to his deal after his historic season last year. And I believe Lane Johnson was also restructured like he always is. But that's it on the offensive side of the ball deals. The wide receiver corps got a little bit deeper. I think there's more players out there. Jahan Dotson's obviously your wide receiver 3. And then John has talked about some of the guys that are there after Jahan Dotson, and they give maybe the Eagles a little bit of lenience depending on how good they do at training camp. And then in the running back room, you added A.J. Dillon coming in here to bolster that group a little bit with Will Shipley, those two guys behind, obviously, Saquon Barkley, the all-pro, first-team all-pro running back there. So, John, not much moves on the player side of the offense, but and we just kind of talked about it a little bit, but those deals did get done. It was nice to see Cam Jurgens get his extension. Kind of a beautiful thing, John. Not many teams can have a Hall of Fame center retire. And a year later, their replacement gets a 4-year deal, almost max near the top of the league. So,
well, yeah, bigger deal than Jason Kelsey ever got, which is obviously about that's just the nature of
Did you see the graphic that came out yesterday of the TJ Watt deal as compared to what JJ Watt made in his entire career? It's pretty crazy how much the money's going up in the NFL.
Kind of, it's. I get why people do it, but it's not a fair comparison. But yeah, I mean, that's just the nature of NFL contracts.
Which, by the way, we just talked about the NFLPA. If you want to quiet some of the noise, you can say, look at how much more money the players are making. We're not doing it all bad. So they could use that a little bit.
Well, that's tied to escalating TV rights and nothing else. If TV rights go down.
I'm saying they could still drop it in their positive category.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's PR, but it's not real. And again, the biggest thing about NFL contracts is it's all bullshit. Number one, and by the way, I fall into this category because everybody does. Because you can't get the numbers immediately. So, and this is more of an agent problem than a NFLPA problem. But they report these numbers like 4 years. 68 million, which is true, or like Milton Williams going out the other way, $26 million a year, which is true on paper, but that's not how the contracts are structured, where the vast majority of contracts are not all, but some quarterbacks get more. But the vast majority of contracts are 2-year deals. And the more important number is the guaranteed money, which everybody knows. But yet the default is the original report, which is, to use Cam as an example, because we're talking about 4 years, 68, 17 million, average annual value, which is pretty stinking impressive. Now, the real number is, I'm just looking it up. The real number is 23.3 guaranteed at signing. Real numbers, 43.3 million in total guarantees. So still very impressive, but it ain't 68 million. Now, he's young enough and he's good enough that I think he'll see that entire contract. And actually, he won't see it because they'll redo his deal after the. But what I'm trying to say, I think he's young enough and good enough that he's going to get all that money and probably more. But it's not a real number. It just isn't. But that's an agent to say, hey, look what I got for my client. Sign with me. That's what that is.
Right. It's still, I do still think it's significant, even if the number's not as big as it was reported, that you have a player that you feel as good about, post Hall of Fame center that the Eagles have. You know what I mean? Like most some teams, it takes 10 years to replace a Hall of Fame guy they lose. The Eagles, Fletcher Cox goes and they got a replacement Jalen Carter. J.C. Kelsey goes, they got Cam Jurgens. Brandon Graham goes, hopefully Nolan Smith can pan out. I mean, it's pretty impressive the way that the Eagles set up to lose some of these really really good players that they've had.
He's a bird guy. I'm not trying to dismiss. I was just using Cam as an example because we're talking about him, and his extension was just tremendous, and he got a ton of money for a center. But the original numbers, and that's for every player in the league, including TJ Watt, they're not real. And until they're filed and we get to see the actual contract, and the most important number is the fully guaranteed number. That's the most important number. That's the real contract.
Good stuff there. There's the update on the offensive line there and the offense really as a whole. John, what about that wide receiver corps? Just touch on that a little bit before training camp next week. We've talked about how we feel it's a little deeper this year. I know you have Jahan Dotson at the 3, and there's some guys maybe who could give the Eagles some maneuverability if they play good enough in camp. If they wanted to trade Jahan Dotson, not saying they would, but maybe if a guy stepped up, they would think about doing that to extract some value out of him going into the final year of his deal. Who do you like behind Jahan Dotson in that receiver room?
Well, yeah, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I think it's sort of a two pronged situation at backup receiver. I think you have the role players, which to me would be Johnny Wilson as the blocking receiver in a run first offense, Anaya Smith as the gadget guy, if you want that type of player, right. Versus the actual receivers. And I think that's where Terrace Marshall potentially could come in, or Danny Gray could potentially come in. And, it's a difficult decision for Howie Roseman because, if you're talking about 4th and 5th receivers, you generally have to play on special teams. Marshall's probably your 4th best receiver, but he's not going to play on special teams. So you just stick him there in case of emergency, in case somebody, Devontae or AJ, misses a game. Maybe you can get away with, having better special teams players elsewhere. Maybe not. Johnny Wilson's an interesting player because I don't think there's many teams he would be making NFL rosters, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think Pumper's the guy. Where's he been, by the way? Have I been too hard on Pumper? I haven't seen him.
No, he was in here yesterday on the at the show. Yeah.
Sorry.
But he's working in Asia. So Pumper has different hours. Yeah. So he's all over the map. But he'll be in. He was in yesterday on the show.
All right. Just double checking.
You saw my boy B Pump.
He he might have been moved to tight end by most teams. But the Eagles were very steadfast early on that he was a receiver. And, depending on your definition, he's a hell of a blocking receiver. But that's, going back, you never want to be described as a blocking receiver as a receiver.
Right.
But he's got some Zach Pascal traits.
And it works. I mean, we got Saquon Barkley in this running game, so I guess that's why he's more valuable here than anywhere else. Maybe he's one of the guys, John, that they kind of play that roster game with,
I think he's going to be part of the team for that reason.
Okay. A guy I don't really see a role for is Anaya Smith. I mean, you talk about the gadget guy, but didn't they just sign Avery Williams to do the kick return and the punt return? If he pans out at all, what is the role for Anaya Smith as a gadget guy? I don't see it, but maybe there's something there that more than meets the eye to me.
Well, I think they did sign Avery Williams to do that job, but he wasn't able to practice at all in the spring. So number one, got to see where he is health-wise.
Right.
That's most important. And again, I'll run down the list. Harrison Bryant, or wherever JD is, AJ Dillon, Josh Uche, Charlie Hewlett, Adoree Jackson, Patrick Johnson, Avery Williams, Kylan Granson, Azeez Ojulari, Kendall Lamb, Matt Pryor, Terrace Marshall, Keelan, even if you want to add Keelan Robinson, who's a waiver pickup. All these additions, 1-year guys, you can move on from any of them at the blink of an eye. Avery Williams got 1 year, $1.27 million. Like, but go compete, go beat them out. That's he's got to make the team last year. He got some dispensation. I'm talking about Anais from being a draft pick last year. No doubt about it. Howie can say whatever he wants. He got some dispensation because he was a draft pick and he didn't want to cut him. From a meritocracy standpoint, he didn't make this football team, but they kept him around. Now he's got to make the team. And the guy he's got to beat out is probably Avery Williams. Could he do it? Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
if you would have told me last year coming in before I saw him with his reputation at Texas A&M, I would have been the exact opposite. I would have been like, and if Avery Williams was here, but he wasn't, I would have said, well, Avery's got no shot. So it's interesting how the tables flip, and now people think Anais has no shot. He's got a shot. I'll tell you what, still during the spring when AJ barely did anything, Devontae and teamwork. Devontae wasn't here for OTAs, was down in Florida, and at mini camp just did a handful of reps. The first team receivers, because they didn't have were generally Dotson, Smith. Not generally, they were Dotson, Smith, and then Marshall if they went to 11 personnel. And Smith was even ahead of Marshall. So they're still giving him a degree of dispensation. But he's got to make the team this summer. No doubt about it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. John, is the running back room in your eyes better this year coming in than it was last year with Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon versus last year it was Kenny Gainwell and Will Shipley behind Saquon Barkley? Obviously, Saquon's coming in, so there's no concern there. But the backups, do you think they're better this year or were better last year?
Potentially better, but it's all got to do with what does A.J. Dillon have in the tank?
Yeah.
I mean, he might not be on the team, and he might be the best backup running back they've had in years. I was always intrigued when Jody was doing the show with me. I would always advocate. I'd like to get A.J. Dillon. This is before the days of Saquon Barkley because he was a backup in Green Bay. And I always had this desire to see a big physical back behind this offensive line, just a north-south guy who's going to beat you up. What that person could do behind that offensive line. But, that was 2021 or 2022 or whatever it was. This ain't the same guy. Part of that physical style is it takes a tremendous toll on you. And obviously, AJ missed the entire season last year with stinger issues. And the year prior, was the first year that he was under 4 yards a carry. So there was, evidence that he was kind of wavering. If you go back to his height, he was one of the best backup running backs in football. 187 carries, 803 yards, 5 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns over 2 years. I remember watching him play. He would just bulldoze people. So my bet would be they're not going to be as good. If A.J. Dillon can revert back to that sort of like Josh Uche, it's been a long time, but if he can revert back to that form, they will be better. He didn't play last year. That is a red flag because he's not. It's not like he can stop being a physical runner. And you got stinger issues as a physical runner?
Right.
I don't like the odds there of staying
I
healthy.
share in the concern there with Johnny Mack. John, let's last thing on the offense here, and before we move over to the defense, I'll get to our super chats as well. Between the two, quarterback, obviously quarterback 1, Jalen Hurts is locked in. I believe quarterback 2, Tanner McKee is locked in. Who do you like as QB3? They drafted Kyle McCord in the 6th round this year. Out of Syracuse. He formerly played at Ohio State. He's a St. Joe's prep kid. And they also traded in the Kenny Pickett trade for Dorian Thompson-Robinson from Cleveland. So 2 quarterbacks vying for that 3rd spot. How do you see it playing out in camp, Johnny Mack, for those unaware of what's going on back there?
Yeah, there's no competition. Kyle McCord's going to be the 3rd quarterback,
Yep, I think so too.
unless he Clayton Thorson's the offseason, which is not going to happen. It's really impressive. He already showed he's a million times more impressive than Clayton Thorson, or somebody like Carson Strong. Got a lot of hype as an undrafted kid one year. Already just in the spring. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the backup in 2026. But for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, it's about playing well in preseason, opening the eyes of others, and trying to get claimed off waivers by another team looking for a 3rd quarterback. And by the way, if he gets through waivers, I think the Eagles will bring him back to the practice squad and want to continue to work with him. But obviously you want to be on the roster. So,
right.
And if he plays well in the preseason, somebody will claim him because there's a lot of teams that need a 3rd quarterback. And he's got some talent. Eagles liked him coming out of UCLA, but they are really enamored with Kyle McCord. That's not even going to be a competition.
Can I ask a basic question? Why is it that I feel like the Eagles want backups that are nothing like their starter? Like if you look at the 2 backups right now, and let's just assume it's going to be McKee and McCord, they're like pocket passing quarterbacks versus you have Jalen Hurts, who's this elusive, playmaking, dual threat ability quarterback. And, you know, conventional wisdom, or at least my thought process would be, yeah, if you lose your quarterback, you're obviously going to lose a much better player than the backup, but at least you can run a similar offense coming in with the new guy and hope to have success. With the Eagles, it seems like they think they have a better chance to almost completely change the offense if they lose their starting quarterback. Are they right to do it that way? What's your thought process on the way they do that way? Because think about it, they've had Gardner Minshew, they've had Tanner McKee, they've had Kenny Pickett, all very different styles of quarterbacks than Jalen Hurts.
Well, the philosophy is, you want somebody who's good enough to win a game or 2. That's always the philosophy.
Right.
It's not about style. It's not about, but it does speak about the difficulty in playing the style that they play with Jalen Hurts. You can't replace, like you can say, well, Dorian Thompson-Robinson can move a little bit. Yeah, he can move, but it's you can't play the way you play with Jalen Hurts with Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Right. In other words, it's almost harder to you have to be really good to play the offense Jalen Hurts' way.
Exactly. So, it's not trying to replicate, it's trying to persevere. And you do have to ship some things and play a different style of football, which they're capable of doing. And arguably, which is the reason I've tried to explain that Jalen Hurts is 9th on the list with other executives, and it's easier to do it that way. Like the minute Jalen Hurts ages out, it's very unlikely the Eagles are going to continue to play their style. I can't say 1,000%.
The league is changing.
Very, very, very unlikely that they're going to find a similar player to seamlessly play the same style. It's much easier to find backups who can be somewhat effective, like Gardner Minshew, Kenny Pickett, now hopefully Tanner McKee, hopefully down the road, Kyle McCord. there's more of those guys than there are of Jalen Hurts.
Makes a lot of sense. Johnny Mac, good stuff there on the offense. I wanted to prep everybody for the offensive side of the ball coming into training camp. After our commercial break, we will dive into the defense, and we'll kind of go through the same process, talk about the guys that were brought in. There's a lot of Timu guys over on the defense. We'll touch on them. We'll touch on the depth. We'll touch on the concerns, and we'll get into all of that coming up. Before we do that, I want to hit on our super chats. We got some on the offensive side of the ball here. Shout out to Sir Wolfie Wolf, says, shout out to Mac and Zander. What's up, brother? Shout out to you as well. Thanks for being here on a Football Friday. The season is here, my friend. Good to see you in here. Diego checks in. What's up, Diego? Great hearing from you this week, my man, over on Instagram. You know, I appreciate when any of our viewers reach out. I love our great community of people, and I appreciate our great community of people. Diego says, hi, Z and J-Mac. Thanks for making this show every day. If every rookie plays out, I think keep some, not all, your most impactful players such as Jalen Carter and Cooper. Thank you from Mexico. So Diego is one of our great Mexican fans. Johnny Mac here on Birds 365. Well, Diego, I think you're right about what you said. Johnny Mac, your thoughts on that?
You mean don't keep
some, not all. I'm not really sure exactly what he means. If every rookie plays out, keep some, not all. But,
yeah, I mean, that's what they did this year. I mean, they would have liked to have Milton Williams. They would have liked to have Josh Sweat. They couldn't afford them. So that demarcation line philosophy will continue because, again, rich people problems. The Eagles have too many good players. Can't pay them all, which is what happened this offseason. And if they continue to hit on rookies, it will continue to happen. So if you're philosophizing, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, plus Jahad Campbell if he hits and Drew Makuba turns into a top-tier safety, you got the same problem. You're going to have to let a few of those guys walk, but those are good problems. Still problems, but those are good problems.
Yep. No doubt. Diego, thank you, man. I appreciate you for being here. And thank you for the $10 super chat on a Football Friday. Dank Bird Gang checking in. What's up, Dank? How you doing, brother? Thanks for being here. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, if the continuity of our offensive personnel offsets the new guys on the offensive staff, does the defensive staff returning sort of offset the changes in defensive personnel? Interesting take there, or interesting question from Dank Bird Gang. I like it. John, your thoughts or your response to what Dank has to say?
Well, talent's more important than coaching. I would say that. I say that pretty consistently. And I'm not worried about the continuity on offense because I think there's more continuity than realized, which I kind of just mentioned. But just, Kevin's been here for many years. Nick knows Parks. There's more new names, but I don't think it's nearly as much upheaval as last year when they're bringing Kellen and Doug from outside the building. And I think by bringing Kellen and Doug and Caballero as well, if you want to go all the way down to the bottom of the staff from outside the building, and Kellen's running the offense with completely new terminology and schemes and thought processes, even though it reverted back to something similar. As good coaches do, they build around the strengths of the players. So all the Jalen Hurts offenses have looked similar because they're building around the strengths of the player. So it ended up, and I think it should end the conversation because they won the damn Super Bowl with all the upheaval.
Right.
Now, did it look pretty at all times? No. But if so many people use that as the deciding of everything. So why not decide and say, hey, guess what? They did it last year. Who gives a shit? That's kind of my philosophy. And Kevin's been here for years and years and years. Kevin got here when Nick got here. And he's been working with Jalen Hurts that entire time.
Does how good the defensive coordinator, though, is on the Eagles and defensive staff really, does that help at all? I mean, you got Vic Fangio. It'd be one thing if you had Sean Desai, and you're like, I don't think it's going to help much if your personnel's not good. When you have Vic, you saw him take two rookies and turn them into what they were. You saw him take Zach Bond and turn them into what they were. And I'm not saying no credit goes to the players. A lot goes to the players. But we talk about the odds, a lot on this show. Vic improves those odds, I think, for every player on this football team. How much does that help, having a guy like Vic Fangio who's that good?
Well, he's the best defensive coordinator in football. I said it consistently. I got a lot of shit for saying he was better
He did
than
get a lot of
Noah.
shit pre-Super Bowl. I will say that, including from me.
He's the best defensive coordinator in football, and that is validated by his peers because he's the one everybody copies. Forget about what I say. That's validated by his peers. No one has been copied more than Vic Fangio over the past decade and a half. So he's going to get the most out of this group than anybody else. I'm on board with that thought. However, Vic's also been around since, for 40 years. And he's always been, not always, but when he developed, he's been the best defensive coordinator for about 15 years, whether he was a head coach. You get my point. Guy running a defense. He's been the best defensive mind for about certainly over a decade, maybe back to 15 years. You don't have the number one defense every year. He gets more out of it than it would have, but that's the goal. That's the job of a coach. If you got 9-win talent, go get 10 or 11 wins. If you got 4-win talent, go get 6 or 7 wins.
Right. I do think he still has a good core, though. I think you have a lot of moving pieces, obviously, but the changes in personnel are big, but you still are returning a lot of good starters. So I think
you are, but you also lost a lot of good starters, which I think people dismiss for whatever.
I think you lost, though. There's 11 starters on defense, John. I think you lost all guys below. If you ranked them in order of importance, 1 to 11, I think you lost all guys. No, Sweat's probably in the top 6 of importance last year.
No, I think Sweat and Milton were. Certainly Slay was. I mean,
yeah,
I disagree with that.
I don't know.
They lost some big time talent. Now, from a whole, they had this demarcation line, and guys were above it. They were going to sign them. Guys that are below it, they weren't going to sign. Now, part of the reason, is also circumstance. If Milton Williams wasn't getting offers he was getting, he would have been above the line.
Right.
But at $26 million, he's below the line. Same thing with Josh. Slay age more than anything else. These are really good players. And then you have the Vic Fangio effect, I think, with Isaiah Rodgers and Warren Burks and guys like that. Getting those guys to play up to the level that they played up to. That, to me, is more of the Vic effect than Josh, a good player. He was a good player before Vic. He'll be a good player after Vic. Milton was a good player before Vic. He'll be a good player after Vic. Slay's been a borderline Hall of Fame player. Look, I'm never going to say ever, and Vic will be the first one to agree with me, talent means more than coaching. And they still have plenty of talent.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but they lost significant talent. People overlooking that shouldn't be overlooking that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I thought it was a good question from you. Leon Banks checking in. What's up, Leon? Good to see you, my friend. It's an early one for you, Leon. You're normally a back half of the day guy. What's going on in your world? Thanks for being here. He said, J-Mac, how cooked is Dallas for delaying to pay Micah? Yeah.
Well, they're not cooked at all.
I don't know what
I mean, Cherry has explained his philosophy, to be honest. I'm surprised he did, but he did.
It's still so moronic.
It is. I mean, they don't do it the right way. It doesn't make sense, but he likes to keep the Cowboys in the headline. He's going to pay him. I don't know how many times this has to happen and be, oh, they're screwed. They're not screwed. They're going to pay him. They're just paying the tax, the Jerry Jones tax. Keep it in the headlines.
Years ago, though, for $30 million. Now they're going to be paying him $42.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand also the fact, I saw Jalen Carter's story, and I'm not going to say who it was, but They're like, well, the Eagles will get them done as quickly as possible sometime during the season. They can't get them done.
I know. I saw that.
They can't get him done till after his third season. You're not
The rookie
allowed.
contract got to be after the third season.
Yeah, you're not allowed. So they couldn't have signed, you have to understand that. You can't just, oh, Mike is great. Let me get him at the earliest point possible. Same thing with Jalen Carter. Maybe it works. And again, it's counterintuitive. You want it to go up this year for Jalen Carter, because if it doesn't, you didn't have a good season. So you want him to have a good season, right? So, and again, I'm not going to pick on anybody, but anybody saying, well, the Eagles have to sign Jalen Carter right now. They can't. Now, the Cowboys, though, they wait and wait and wait, and they pay a tax for it. But whether it's Dak Prescott, whether it's CD Lamb, and everybody out, they always pay them. So for the people that they're not going to, no, they're going to pay them. But are they going to pay a tax? Yes, because they do business the wrong way. No question about it.
We'll see what ends up happening. We'll see how much Micah gets. Leon, thanks for the super chat, brother. Jason 18, thank you, my man. Jason 18. By the way, I appreciate your comment over on ZK's Garage. Jason 18, that was pretty cool to see you over there. Thanks, brother. He drops in with a $10 super chat today. He says, do you think people will catch up to Vic's scheme this year? Even though the way they drafted makes it seem they want players to disguise better, that's where the cross-training and flexibility comes in. It's an interesting question. John, your thoughts?
No, I haven't caught up to it yet. And again, well, they caught up to Ed Donatel's version. They caught up to Sean Desai's version. And by the way, Vic's scheme is always evolving. It's not like he stands still, but there's some basic philosophies. And the basic idea is to always have the extra guy in coverage and to make the quarterback wait post-snap to decipher what's going on. That's that. If you want to boil it down in its most basic sense, he used to be heavier quarters at one point, quarters coverage. Now it's more cover three. He's always changing depending on his talent, depending on who his best players are. And I envision in 2026, you're going to see a completely different mindset with the linebackers if it's Bond and Campbell than you had last year. If you go back to his Miami defense the year prior, which is pretty damn good, which for some reason people don't realize because they had a bunch of injuries at the end. The Van Ginkel stuff is more indicative of, I think, where they're going to be going, but he didn't have that player last year. Or at least, a lot of people made the Bond connection, but he didn't use Bond like he used Van Ginkel because he thinks Bond is a better stack linebacker than edge rusher, whereas Van Ginkel's more edge rusher than stack linebacker. So he used them differently. But I think Campbell factors into that role, the Van Ginkel role. So it's always evolving. It's always changing. And that's the brilliance. And I always say about Vic, it's not the scheme. You can go online and get literal diagrams of everything he does. Teaching it is the key. And he teaches it better than everybody else.
Yes, he does. No doubt about it. A-Team, great question, man. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate all the super chats today. The final off-season show, everybody. At least it is in my eyes. Next week comes around. I know they're not reporting till Tuesday, not on the field till Wednesday, but it's Eagles season next week, baby. I'm ready for it to rock. So thank you all for being here today. Let's hit that like button for me. Can we get well over 100 likes today? We got 253 in the YouTube chat, over 600 watching on all the different platforms right now. Can we get over 100 likes on YouTube? Come on, everybody. The season is here. It's time to smash that like button here on Birds 365. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll dive into the defense. All right, I want to dive into the defense, what happened there, some of the things to prep for camp coming up, and still plenty of things to talk about. And then we'll close it out with a little training camp preview, the most important position battles, the most important players to watch, and maybe some big picture debate topics at the end of the show. Not debate, but thoughts of things that people have debated this offseason. We'll do all that coming up next on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. John, we've officially made it all through the offseason, and the Eagles camp kicks off next week. We've been recapping it here on today's Football Friday edition. We'll continue that recap today. But, man, I'm happy that the season is upon us. Johnny Mack and the Eagles are obviously now the hunted. They are no longer hunting. They are the top of the NFL, and they will work to, what are you saying, not repeat. They must
Win
defend their title. Is that fair to say?
They're the reigning champions.
Reigning champions.
I say if they win, they will have won 2 consecutive Super Bowls.
There you go. So we'll see what they end up doing. John, I'm going to continue where we were on running down kind of the recap of the offseason. We just went through the offensive side of the ball, had some great super chats, some great questions, which we appreciate from all of our great people in the chat. It's good to see all you guys in the chat, by the way. A couple of our guys trickling back in, so it's good to see everybody. John, let's move into the defense a little bit and some of the deals that happened this offseason. Not too many outside of the Timu signings. Jordan Davis's 5th-year option was picked up, so we'll see about what type of long-term extension, if any, comes for Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter, as we talked about, is entering a contract year. So after this season, he will be eligible for an extension. Milton Williams and Josh Sweat signed elsewhere. Darius Slay signed elsewhere. Uche and Ojulari come in. Zach Bond got locked up for 3 years, $51 million. A lot of moving parts, John, on that defense. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I should mention that, was traded away. Adoree Jackson brought in, and 2 draft picks in the top 2 rounds, Andrew Makuba and Jahad Campbell. A lot of moving parts, John, on the defense this offseason, and a lot of questions coming in for the 2025 season on the defensive side of the ball. A lot more so than the offensive side.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's not more concern from the fan base, but I guess, similar to the Eagles, in Vic we trust. And he did it 1 year, so I guess I get the philosophy of why can't he do it again? But you lost some good players, really good players. And not only the top tier guys, but also the second tier guys like Oren Burks, who came in and was lights out in the playoffs. And Isaiah Rodgers, who was tremendous as a sort of cornerback 3 who had to play a little bit. Guys like that. Injury to Nakobe Dean, not going to be there week 1. We'll see how quickly he can get back. Jahad Campbell, which is, it's a give and take. I think people worried about week 1 are missing the boat there. I mean, there's a reason you got him at 31. And he wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have gotten him if he was healthy. So there's a give and take, and I think there should be a little bit more patience there. Like, I wouldn't worry about week 1. You want him on the field this year, but
I like your comp to last year's Cooper DeJean. Like, imagine if we were upset about Cooper DeJean because he didn't play in week 1. You know what I mean? The give it time.
Well, some people were. I mean,
yeah, no, I know. I get it.
And, but to me, that's more about the longer term, even about 2026, to be honest, because if Nakobe does get back by, say, week 8, we'll say halfway through the season, or now that the NFL has ruined that, we can't with 17 games, but about halfway through the season, it's going to be Nakobe and Zach. At least if Vic is telling the truth, and I've never known him to lie. So, it might be more about 2026 and beyond. And then it becomes, what does the pass rush look like? Do they need to get him on the field there? And hopefully you get him on the field for a package, yada, 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 whatever. But I don't think it's about the immediacy for that player. I think it's more about the immediacy with Drew Makuba. Because now that it's become more evident with CJ coming out with his description of what went on, they were going to cut CJ. He wasn't coming back. It wasn't like they said, oh, there's a reclamation project and Kenyon Green was a first-round pick and we're trying to replicate Mekhi Becton. Had nothing to do with that. They were going to cut him. And they happened to able to work out a deal, get a potential reclamation project, plus, some draft positioning, and get something for him. But if they didn't, Howie gave the call, hey, buddy, we're going to let you go. So they were always planning to move on from CJ Gardner-Johnson, and, the belief in Sidney Brown is not that concrete because they drafted Drew Makuba in the 2nd round. And he's more of a Vic Fangio style player, I would say, at safety, more of a coverage player. And they want him to get on the field quicker. So I think the immediacy standpoint, I think it's more important with Makuba than it is with Campbell.
We'll see what ends up happening there, Johnny Mac. John, your thoughts on that Jordan Davis move? I mentioned that they picked up the fifth-year option on him. A lot of questions on this defense, but I think he's one of the guys that is really a big catalyst for how successful the defense can be this year. What's your thoughts right now as we enter training camp on him? I think it's fair to say typically by this point for a player drafted that high, the Eagles would have liked to have gotten a long-term deal done. I don't think they're going to pick up the fifth-year option on Jalen Carter. They didn't do it on Devontae Smith. I don't expect them to do it. I guess another. Well, they did it with Nolan. Well, we'll see what they do with Nolan. But I thought they would have had the deal done. I think picking up the fifth-year option with no deal would show you that maybe the Eagles aren't fully sold on that player. How do you view that situation here coming into training camp with Jordan Davis?
Well, they have time because of the fifth-year option. So that's a lot of things where, there's certain slam dunks where they do want to go early, as early as possible. And there are other ones who aren't slam dunks. And I think it's fair to say that Jordan Davis is not a slam dunk, and that's why they'll wait and see how this year goes and then make the decision, because they're not going to want him to play on the fifth-year option. So they'll probably make a decision after this year. And who knows, if he's lights out, maybe he can get something done during the season. There's no rule against that. But so it depends how you frame it. But we've talked about that player a lot. And I think Howie probably learned something from that pick, because it is the disconnect between expectations of where he was selected and what style of player he is. But I think, the name I constantly hear is Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence. Can he be more like Dexter Lawrence? And it happened to be, I'm glad you brought up Jordan Davis, because I meant to bring up this of all the stats I saw this week. And I'm not a big stat guy, but this one blew me away. Total pressures when lined up as a true nose tackle over the last 3 seasons. Number 1 is Dexter Lawrence, which shouldn't surprise people.
Nope.
With 96. Number 2 has 20.
Holy
he ain't
moly.
becoming Dexter Lawrence.
Or close. Dexter Lawrence is that good. That is a nuts statistic.
But that's an example of, because he's on a shitty team, and I don't think people understand how good and how rare Dexter Lawrence is. So that's just a comp that's not realistic.
Right.
So again, it's how high do you want to go with a player that's very good at what a typical nose tackle does? And that's tie up blockers, make things easier for Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. How valuable is that? And you can say, well, it's not that valuable and just get somebody else, but there aren't a lot of guys who do it as well as Jordan Davis. But the pass rushing part of it is the problem. And I've tried to say that many times over the years. Where are the good pass rushing nose tackles? Well, there's one in Vita Bay, you could argue. And to me, that's the one I've always used. Or even going back to Haloti Ngata in his prime, not when he was here, that type of player. That, to me, is where you want Jordan Davis to go. And that's a guy who pushes the pocket, pushes the interior of the pocket. Not necessarily sacks. You've been doing this show long enough to know with me, Zander, that there's 2 things that drive me insane. One is grading quarterbacks on Super Bowl victories, and 2 is sacks. But even more so with nose tackles. Nose tackles. Why are you even talking about sacks? But I mean,
I actually know that about you more from when I produced this show and wasn't the host, because I actually agree with you on sacks. Because Jody did not agree with you on sacks, so you guys fought about it often. You know what I mean? Me and you don't fight about it because I agree with you. I don't think they're as important as people.
Well, it's even I mean, that's I discovered with pass rushers. I mean, there are certain guys. It is important for edge rushers, and certain guys set themselves apart and are finishers and are consistent.
Yeah, but even for them, I don't think it's as important as people think. Like, look at Josh Sweat last year; he had 8.5 sacks, but he was such a good anchor as a defensive end. I'd rather have that than a guy that gets 17, you know, or as like Hassan Reddick, who was great, by the way, but didn't do the other things well. I think Vic wants somebody that can do everything well instead of Vic, a 17 sack guy. You know,
Vic does want somebody. Well, he wants somebody to do everything well, but get 17 sacks.
Yeah, well, that's ideal, but those are few and far between.
Yeah, Khalil Mack type players, which are few and far between, or Von Miller in his prime.
What about TJ Watt, who just got 30 something or $40 million?
Well, TJ's a great pass rusher. I saw Ed taking strays. Poor Ed Kratz writing about Von. Look, somebody's like, hey, do me a favor, compare TJ Watt in the playoffs to Nolan Smith in the playoffs. And I'm like, geez, really? It is like almost the quarterback bet. You're comparing Nolan Smith to TJ freaking Watt?
No, I'm not. Not
me, you. I'm not saying you.
Yeah, I know.
But getting back to the sack standpoint, even more so at nose tackle. Like, and look, I'll be honest with you. There's probably, I don't want to put percentage on it, but most people don't even understand the difference between nose tackle and 3 technique and 4-eye and 5 and 7 and 9 and the techniques to play on the defensive line. But you shouldn't be ever talking about sacks with nose tackles unless it's somebody like Dexter Lawrence, who is just ridiculously good and can actually do both. The average nose tackle is out there to do one thing, and that's tie people up to make it easier for everybody else. And by the way, push the pocket when the quarterback does drop back, like Vita Vea. And if you do that, you're a great nose tackle. And can Jordan Davis get to that level? I haven't seen it, but there's still, he's gotten in better shape. We do this story every year. He's paid the same lip service every year, but he's doing it this time, or at least he was doing it with the Peloton. We'll see if it continues, and I think that will help. But right now he's a good player, not a great player.
Agree with that. Then you got Jalen Carter up there. We'll see how Mara Jomo fills in for Milton Williams. John, on the edge and linebacker room, you got Sweat and Williams are gone. Uche Ojulari in. Bond locked up 3 years, $51 million, as I mentioned. Can the edge group maintain the pressure? What do they have to do? It's interesting. I'm curious to see also how they use Zach Bond, if at all, off the edge. Is he off ball only? I think that's going to be interesting to watch, and what kind of versatility Jahad Campbell might give Vic Fangio if he gets healthy, which I assume he will at some point this season. So a lot to look for there, a lot of potential there, but also a lot of question marks that could go either way. Could work out, could also not work out. How do you see that edge room? I know it's your top concern coming into the 25 season.
Yeah, I don't see many avenues where this team could fall apart on the field. Again, taking injuries out of it. But edge is one I could see it going. I could at least envision it going in a very negative direction. It starts with Nolan. Nolan has to be a really good pass rusher. And I don't mean Josh Sweat good. I mean a really good pass rusher. Because if you wanted to consider Josh Sweat the leader, and he was last year, Nolan was the complement. Brandon when he was healthy. And down the list. Now everybody's getting kicked up. And Jalix Hunt, which Eagles gave him explicit instructions, get stronger, gain weight. You got to be the guy. We're going to see how that looks. And then you have the Temu guys that you kind of cross your fingers and throw the dart at the dartboard. It wouldn't surprise me if Antoine Powell-Ryland is getting playing time. It wouldn't surprise me if August 30th they're making a trade for an edge rusher. Would not surprise me at all.
No, it wouldn't me either.
To me, it is the obvious weakness of this team.
I agree. John, moving into the secondary, Mitchell and DeJean obviously returning after 2 very impressive rookie seasons. Darius Slay gone. James Bradbury gone. C.J. Gardner-Johnson gone. Adoree Jackson is in. Andrew Makuba is in. Keely Ringo presumably is in. That's a lot of change in the secondary, John. I know you're more concerned about the edge, as am I, but that secondary's got some questions as well that must be answered.
Yeah, I just think they have a bigger upside, at least in the secondary. But yeah, still concerns. I mean, you lost 2 playmakers in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay. 2 big-time players. I mean, and again, I get it from Slay's standpoint, his age and all that, cap casualty. You gotta pull off the Band-Aid. You gotta, or get off the pot with Keely Ringo. If you don't try it this year, you basically wasted his entire rookie contract. So I think it makes sense from a business perspective, but obviously you're going to have some hiccups trying to replace Darius Slay. And then with CJ, I mean, look, the good and bad, if this guy wasn't a pain in the ass, I'm going to make this abundantly clear. He'd be here and he'd be making more money. So, it's hard to say any of these safeties, whether you want to go down to Lewis Seen and Andre Sam, is going to make plays like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. What are the odds of that? Now, you can say addition by subtraction, which I think that's a better argument. To not have that distraction, to not have that occasional pain in the ass, maybe that helps you in a different way. But boy, on the field, when you need a big play, I'd rather have CJ than insert name. I'll tell you that.
We'll see what ends up happening with it, Johnny Mac. You're right about that secondary, though. I got a lot of question marks on that secondary. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how that shakes out. Which one are you most confident in? Is it Ringo? I think you've been consistent with that, right, Ringo?
Yeah, I think Ringo's going to be a good player. Again, that doesn't mean there's not going to be hiccups. I think there's going to be some problems. And that might be his biggest. I have no idea. He's very soft-spoken, very quiet, polite person. Does he have the mentality to handle the slings and arrows that corners get in this league? I have no idea, because that is a position where you get shit upon, because you got a bunch of people watching it who have no idea what the coverage is. And if you're the closest guy to the streaking receiver, you're a loser, basically. Might not even be your responsibility, but you're the guy trying to track down the receiver in the open field. Boy, you got to be mentally tough to play cornerback. And I have no idea on that part of it. I don't think anybody does. Takes a rare breed. Even Slave's done it at such a high level for so long. It's like, yeah, man. Every once in a while, you hear him to clap back. You don't know ball, something like that, to some fan out there. My number one piece of advice is to Kaylee Ringo is get the hell off social media, which speaks to how good Quinion and Cooper were last year because
they were special.
They're beloved because you haven't seen too much negative to this point.
Yeah, no, they were special players last year. There's no doubt about that, Johnny Mac. So a lot of questions here on this defense. Overall, this season comes down to if young guys pan out, you're in great shape. If they don't pan out, probably fucked. I mean, you're probably not winning a Super Bowl if most of these young guys.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they're fucked. They're a good team. It's just
no, I don't mean fucked. I mean fucked in the fans' mind because people think that we are in the golden era and we have a chance to go and repeat as Super Bowl champions, a legitimate chance. And I think even you believe there's a legitimate chance if things go your way. A lot has to go their way though, and if it doesn't go their way, I think they're pretty quickly not going to be a good enough defense to get back.
Yeah, I'm. I had 11 wins going up to 12. That's where I am. But I think they're one of the 5 or 6 teams that have a legitimate shot. And some team will, jump up and add to that mix, and probably 1 or 2 will fall back and fall out. I don't think that's going to be the Eagles. And they're still going to have tremendous confidence because they're going to be a playoff team. Even in a bad season, which would be not winning the division. And again, I feel like I always bring it up, the caveat, injuries can affect anything. But if they're relatively healthy, they're going to be in the playoffs. And they have they're battle tested. Their core group is battle tested. They know how to win in the playoffs. So even if they get in as a wild card and Washington wins the division, they still have a good chance. I mean, they won 4 games last year, so obviously going through that extra level, they know how to win. So that's a big part of it as well.
No doubt about it, Johnny Mac. Good stuff there. Let's get to some super chats here. We got some more supers. I appreciate everybody for being here today. We got about 20 minutes left to play here. I think we did a pretty good job of kind of recapping the offseason and then setting the stage for what's coming up here in training camp next week. A lot of questions on defense, not so many questions on offense outside of the coaching staff, which I think is honestly feel pretty good about. Kevin Petula has been in this building since Jalen's been a starter and since Nick Sirianni's been here. So I feel good about that. Hopefully we've recapped and hit on everything you guys wanted us to hit on. If not, drop a super chat below and we will get to it for sure. Brandon Lewis checking in. Brandon, what's up, man? Thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate you, brother. Brandon's been here all off season and we appreciate that support. He's a Johnny Mac super fan. He says, my heart sank when you said Zach Bond got locked up, Zander. LOL. I didn't mean that way, Brandon Lewis. I meant locked up as an Eagle for the next 3 years. Thank you for the super chat, brother.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Zach. Yeah,
he's a guy who's been head over shoulders. Yeah. You can tell.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry.
No doubt. Alfredo checks in. He says, ring ceremony what time? 8 p.m.
Can't talk about it.
Yeah, they can't say. They're keeping that close to the vest, Alfredo. That's why you don't know, brother. We don't either. Well, John does, but I guess we can't reveal. B. Preston checks in. He says, thank you, brother, for the $5 super chat. Another one of my great viewers over on ZK's Garage. He says, PFF just dropped their top 50 players. 11, Mailata. Ooh, very high. 16 is AJ. 19 is Lane. 22 is Saquon. 45 is Jalen Carter. And last but not least, 50, Jalen Hurts. Not bad. Mailata is really high.
Well, he should be number 1. I don't get PFF sometimes. You graded him as the best player in football, so shouldn't he be number 1?
Right.
I mean, again, all these lists depends on people's definitions. And I mean, I've seen them as they go down the list of players. They graded Jordan Mailata as the best player in football. Now, obviously, I was talking about with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have a bigger impact on the game. That's why when we do our list, Ed and I do our list, I try to describe it as best as possible. Who does their job the best? I had Jordan Mailata very high. Now, I'm not grading Jordan Mailata. I don't think he's the best player in football. I'm saying they graded him as the best player in football. So why isn't he number one? But to be Preston's point, they're all good players. By the way, Saquon, they graded Saquon as the 11th best running back, I believe. Why is he 22? I don't fucking know. So yeah, if you like it. If you're disrespected by it, I would say go on to the next list.
Shows you there's a lot of Eagles, man, in that list. So pretty good stuff. B. Preston, thank you, brother. I appreciate you for being here, man. JD checking in. There he is. He says, J-Mac, what are you most looking forward to doing at camp? Meeting the new players or seeing the competitions? Seems like it would be awesome. It would be awesome to be there, I'm sure, JD. Or Johnny Mac, your thoughts on that?
It's not awesome, but yeah, I get it from a fan perspective. Football practice is not that exciting. I really get more excited about talking to people I can't talk to normally.
Right.
In post-COVID, that has become a bigger issue around the NFL because they took advantage of that, like everybody did. I think across society as a whole.
Yeah, really.
And now we don't have as much access as we once did. I was talking about like I want to talk to people you don't even think about. Because AJ is one of my favorite players, one of my favorite people to cover. I think he's a great dude. I've talked to him a million times. I want to talk to Taylor Morin. I want to talk to undrafted rookies. I want to talk to guys down the roster that maybe have interesting stories and aren't even going to be here. So anyway, it's a little bit different than I think people would expect.
No doubt. JD, appreciate the super chat, brother. $5 today. Appreciate it. And I love the Harrison Bryant picture as well. Prince Swayze checking in. What up, Prince? Good to see you, Prince. Thanks for being here, man. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate you, brother. He says, Christian Parker speaks highly of Keely Ringo, and he coached players like Pat Surtain, Alexander, and even AJ mentioned Ringo. I believe we have the right coaches. Smitty likes Andrew at safety. So there's a lot of good things there, a lot of good possibilities, a lot of good promises, but still got to see him on the field.
I settled down with the Surtain comp. That's the kind of stuff I talk about. Hey, I'm one of the first. AJ thinks very highly and thinks Kaylee has a chance to be really good. I've talked about that for a long time now, but we have to see. And I Vic likes Drew at safety, and more importantly than Smitty. So that's why he's here. So hopefully he can live up to the billing. But he is the 64th overall pick. He's not top 10. So again, don't skip steps, as they say.
I have some confidence in Ringo. I think he's got all the physical traits, obviously, as we've talked about many times. Will he be able to translate it? Obviously, that's a big question. But you're right. I mean, you hear guys like AJ talk about him. You get kind of excited about the potential of what he can be and how good the secondary could be. But it is a big loss, obviously, with Slay. And we'll see what Ringo can do, Johnny Mac. But I am confident. And I will say you have made me more confident in Keely Ringo because you seem to be confident in him based on what you've been told and talked about with people inside the know.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Now, there's levels of confidence. I think Slay is way better than the average Eagles fan thought he was. Not, I mean, I think he's going to the Hall of Fame. So is he going to be that good? Probably not.
Did any Eagles fans not think Slay was good? I think everybody knew Slay was good.
I've gotten a lot of Slay angst over the years.
Well, I think he missed some games. He missed some time, and that always pisses people off. It always will. But
personality, I think, rubs some people the wrong way at times. But yeah, I never got the feeling that they thought he was as good as he was or is, because he still played at a high level last year.
We'll see what happens. This is a good question here. Ryan says, Zander, can we get some clarification on how to pronounce Keely's name? J-Mac says it like Kaylee.
It's Keely. Should be
Keely. Do I say it right? Keely Ringo?
Yeah. Should be that. I don't know how I come across and say it, but yeah, it's one of those names where I probably flub, but it's Keely.
Keely, yeah. Kaylee Ringo. Yep. Keely Ringo is good, Ryan. I think that works.
And Drew goes by Drew Makuba.
Yeah, which by the way, I like Andrew so much better. Come on, Drew. But I'll say what he wants, whatever. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, if they want to be called something, I call him that. That's why there's still a ton of people that call Kenny Gainwell Kenneth. And you'll still see it written more than as Kenneth than Kenny.
I never really understood the Slay thing where he's like, I can only be called Slay.
He doesn't like that. He doesn't like his name. So he doesn't like
your name.
He doesn't like his name.
All right, John. I'm not going to call you John anymore. Yeah. What?
Well, if you ask me to call you Krause, I'd call you Krause. What do I give a shit?
Yeah, that's true. I don't care. I mean, I never.
He likes to be called.
I just thought it was funny how if anybody calls him Darius, it's like, well, dude, that is kind of your name.
He doesn't like his name. I've heard that before. People sometimes
good name.
don't
I like the name
name.
Darius.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it either. He personally doesn't like it. So he wants to be called Slay. What do I give a shit? I call him Slay.
That's true. I guess none of us pick our names. They're all given to us by our parents or whoever. Ryan, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Mr. CTE, which is a funny name, checks in, and he says, is Moorhead a good wide receiver coach? Top end of that room is elite. I think he meant that room, right? What did you mean? You clarified in the comments what you meant. He said top end of sorry, bro. Yeah, that room. Top end of that room is elite, but he seems to struggle developing guys under AJ and Smitty.
Well, it's interesting because Aaron was here at the end of Doug Peterson, and he wasn't a Nick Sirianni guy right off. And I know for a fact he thought he had to move on when Doug left, and eventually Nick probably didn't get the guy he wanted, and they went back to Aaron. And since then, he's really developed a close relationship and has gotten over the hump. As far as developing talent, I think he's done a good job. I think this is the deepest wide receiver room the Eagles have ever had. Certainly in the Sirianni era. I don't mean in the history of the organization, but I think he's a good coach. I think he's done a good job. Comparing people to AJ and Devontae is not. You don't have third receivers like Jahan Dotson, by far the best third receiver they've ever had, by far.
Yeah,
by leaps and bounds. And they're getting better. And again, but I think a lot of people with that fourth and fifth wide receiver, again, you have to play special teams. I think people don't.
But can I just say, I would rather grade Moorhead on Devontae and AJ.
Well, you should, but
I mean, I know he's not responsible for all of them because they're such inherently talented people, but they came in and AJ got a lot better when he came here to Philly. He did. All right. He was not talked about as a top 5 receiver in Tennessee. Now, maybe he was younger, he was acclimating, whatever the case may be. And Devontae's been pretty lights out since he was drafted here. So I'm going to go off that, not the revolving door of, lesser talent in the back.
I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like I don't know too many wide receiver coaches that could have screwed up Smitty. I mean, Smitty, like the Eagles went through. I still remember seeing Smitty for the first time that first training camp because the Eagles had been so bad at receiver leading up to that. And I was like 2 practices in, and I said, this guy's different than what they've had.
I remember when you were covering it. Yeah.
He's just really good, and he was really a finished product. And Nick Saban, I guess, deserves whoever his wide receiver coach, who I don't know who it was, but he was a really finished product when he got here. And he's only gotten better. And AJ, I mean, I didn't think he was a top 5 receiver when he got here, but I didn't get to see him every day, in Tennessee. And again, it's very similar in Tennessee to what he was here last year because they had Derrick Henry in this prime, Saquon Barkley. So it was a run-first offense, so it wasn't the high volume, but he was damn good. I remember having this argument with Jody. I was like, he's top 10 receiver in the NFL. But I didn't know he was this good. And he has gotten better and better. So yeah, I think Aaron deserves credit to elevating those guys, even because that's what your job as a coach to do. I always get them a little bit farther than where they can get on their own. Well, Devontae and AJ can get really far on their own, and Aaron's gotten them a little bit and elevated them a little bit, and that's his job description. I think he's done a really good job. But with those backup receivers, I think people get hyper focused on the receiving aspect of it. It makes sense, right? But that's not their job. That's not their role. They got to have dual roles. They got to play special teams. They got to return kicks. If they're not gunners, if they're not coverage people, they got to return kicks. You got to contribute somewhere else because of the nature of an NFL roster. So I think, and then when they're forced to play because of an injury, maybe you kept a special teams guy and you don't keep Terrace Marshall, who would be better equipped if, God forbid, somebody gets hurt for a long period of time. You want Terrace Marshall in there. Not saying he's going to be great.
Right.
You don't want Johnny Wilson in there. But of those two, I say Johnny Wilson's got a better chance to make the Philadelphia Eagles than Terrace Marshall, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No,
it does. It does. CT, thank you, brother. Appreciate the super chat there. By the way, I got like a huge jackhammer going on outside the way. I'm not sure if it's coming through my mic. I
have not heard it.
Okay, good. Because it's like loud. He's like right.
I had that yesterday. I was on the radio in Salt Lake City yesterday. And I kid you not, there were like 3. I was getting my lawn done, and then 2 houses around me were getting their lawns done. It was like fireworks. I couldn't go anywhere to get any kind of quiet.
Shredding pavement, man, on the jackhammer. So I'm good that you guys can't hear it. CT, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. By the way, I have one super chat from Jared Hatfield, and I'll read that. It's not in the show today. So after the show, people can do super chats in the comments after on the actual YouTube comments, not the live chat. So I'll read his. He dropped it twice, and I forgot to read it yesterday. So I'll read it today. Kimberly Sirico says, Von Miller as Kami. It's the cast of movie Cocoon. No, I don't know that movie.
Yeah, he's talking about age. It's a very age, which, it's a give and take. I mean, you could have said that about Brandon Graham or Slay. People could have made the age jokes. If he plays well, you're not going to be making the age jokes. If he doesn't, you're probably going to be making the age jokes.
Right. We'll see what ends up happening there. Thank you, Kimberly, for the super chat. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats today. Thank you for all the great support today. Are we up over 100 likes? I mean, come on. We got the season starting next week. We got to get over 100 likes now. It's time they start getting some freaking likes back on the show. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm going to go to the super chat in the comments. Alfredo, I did get to your super chat. We do not know we're not allowed to release what time that thing is. Jared Hatfield, John, $5 super chat in the comments section, not in the live chat. says, for J-Mac and Co., speaking on how Jalen will have to perform next season, logic tells you he needs to pass more, but it's hard for me to envision his pass attempts being dramatically different than last season when you factor in the fact that a lot of those Saquon runs were changed at the line of scrimmage by Jalen. So are we expecting him to do that less, or is the opportunity going to be there less? I doubt it. I get the tougher schedule stuff, but that's what the Eagles offense is at its core. I don't expect that to change. That's Jared Hatfield 2806 in our comments. What do you think, Johnny Mac?
I think I expect them to be a run-first team, but I think the personality of the game is more important than there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. One, do you want to limit Saquon's? I don't think so. A lot of people talk about managing his touches. I think the Eagles are going to ride that if they can ride it. How do people stop it? Do people adjust? Do they make it more difficult? Are you more in third and long situations? Obvious passing situations? Are you behind more in the fourth quarter? That has more to do with the personality of the game. If everything goes the way it did last year, it's going to look very similar. They're ahead late. They're going to run the ball to close games. If it's closer and they're struggling a little bit more, a lot of it has to do with the defense. Defense was the best defense in football. What if they're middle of the pack with all these changes? It's going to force you to throw the football more. Here's where it was: 432, 460, 538, 361. That's Jalen Hurts' pass attempts per season. 432, 460, 538, 361. Is it going to go up from 361? Probably. Is it going to hit 538? Probably not. 430 to 460, that would be my best guess.
We'll see what ends up happening. Johnny Mac, great show today. And Jared Hatfield, thank you for that super chat, brother. In the comments, you sent it twice, so I apologize for not getting to it. You said, Z, you forgot to read it. I'll send it again. So you did it. I appreciate that, man. That support of the channel. I appreciate everybody for being here today. John, it's been a fun off season, my friend. I think we've handled it pretty well. I think we have covered everything extensively. Every nut and bolt out there that you could hit on. I believe we hit on it. We covered it. We talked about it. We laid it out for the people, for the consumption. And now it's all here so we can analyze it in real time.
Yeah,
now,
and it's
forward.
here. It's here. Eagles will receive their Super Bowl rings tonight. The coaches are back at work tomorrow. So everybody celebrates. Nobody get too drunk. And then the players reports on Tuesday of next week on the practice field Wednesday morning.
Can't wait for it to happen, Johnny Mac. John, your final thoughts on today's show as we wrap up the offseason on Birds 365 and prepare.
Yeah, it's a good way to wrap it up, to get those Super Bowl rings and, say that's about, and I'm sure that'll be Nick Sirianni's messaging, and use that. That's about last season. This is a new iteration, as Jalen Hurts called it, of the Philadelphia Eagles. Time to do it again. Time to climb that mountain again.
Yep, no doubt about it. We'll see if they can do it. And I'm looking forward to it, Johnny Mac. John, great week of shows, great off-season of shows, my friend. And we kick this thing into high gear starting next Tuesday, really next Wednesday, but starting next week. Appreciate it, Johnny Mac. Appreciate all the work from this off-season. I think the viewers appreciate it as well. I don't think there's any Eagles coverage anywhere, John, that goes all through the offseason like we have here on Birds 365. I hope the viewers appreciate it. I know that they say they do, and there's a lot of you in here, so I appreciate that very much. But I'm proud of what we've done this offseason, John, and I'm looking forward to the season together, brother.
Me as well. Let's get it going. I got one more weekend. I got to charge the batteries. Let's go.
Charge them up, Johnny Mac.
The grind begins.
I'll charge them up. I'll talk to you on Monday, my friend. Thank you, Johnny Mac.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, there's Johnny Mac. John McMullen here on Birds 365. Wrapping up, in my eyes, the final off-season show of Birds 365. A great one at that. A great topic. running around all the topics as we prepare for training camp. Who smells that? What's that smell? I smell another championship on the way. Come on, baby. Come on. I see Shooter in the chat crying. Yo, Shooter. I know that the team you root for hasn't won in a long time. I know they're the bottom dregs of the NFL. But don't try and come in here, Shooter, and throw water on our fire. All right, Shooter? Come on, Shooter. Come on, Shooter. 5 years does feel like a long time when you're the worst team in the league for those 5 years. The smell is Cilio's clams. I still smell those things. Are burn a nose hair off. Burnt the nose hair off. The smell of those. I'm back, Xander. Shooter, good to have you back, you head case. You know I love you, brother. You know I love you. Can't get here fast enough. 5 long-ass days. Alfredo, deep breaths, my friend. It's coming. All right? Appreciate each and every day that we have on this planet. All right? If my feet hit the turf, if I go to bed, all right, I'm a happy man. All right? I'm appreciative of the gift of life each day. You know, we heard the news of Brian Brayman passing this year. Life is very fragile, my friend. Life is very fragile. Okay? So appreciate each day. I know they're 5 long days. I know you're excited for the season, but go out, smell some grass, feel the sunshine, feel the rain, feel the emotions, whatever it is you're feeling, whether it's happy, sad, angry, upset, whatever you're feeling, embrace them, brother. That is the full experience of the human life here on earth, and we're blessed to be able to live it all together. Tony, what's up, my man? What up, Tony? Kevin says, I smell giveaways. I smell giveaways too, KCA. Come on, man. I smell them too. I smell them too. Smoke some grass. I prefer the gummies. Whatever you guys want to do. I am, bro. Just saying. Alfredo, you know I got you, my guy. You know I got you. I'm just giving you a little soliloquy. How's that? All right? How's that? 2 of you guys are saying smoke some grass. No comment. All right? Do whatever you guys want. It's a free world and a free country. Okay? Big Crow season. Abe, I forgot to answer you yesterday. My bad, bro. I was in the car. I'll answer you today. I will answer you today. Sorry, let me just roast someone via text right now. Oh, Tony, I just see your text. Oh, my gosh. That is a beauty, bro. Tony, did you get the HCT? You did. Man, that is beautiful. Oh, that is beautiful. That purple. Xander in Friday mode, brother. I'm on cloud 9. Always am. All right. HTC. I hope it's Cilio. He's roasting. I'm roasting Cilio today. The offseason is brutal. LFG. Bro. No, that's not a bro. I know you. I know that you're a female, even though your name would have nothing in it to tell me. But I take pride in that. I remember my community. All right. Cilio will read the same name 68 days in a row and still be like, I have no idea who that is. I have no idea who that is. Johnny Mac's finally learning some of the people. How about that? That's pretty cool. When Jody was here, Johnny Mac didn't know a freaking any of you. He didn't talk to anybody in the chat. Now he's calling out Brian Pumper and JD3 mid-show. All right? So I take pride in connecting with my community. She says the offseason is brutal, LFG. You know what? The offseason was glorious. We're Super Bowl champions. Okay? I disagree. I love you, but I disagree. Need more car content this weekend? You know it's coming, B. Preston. It's coming, my friend. This weekend, though, I won't be at home much because I'm going to be at the NASCAR event. So I'm super excited. I'm actually going to text my guy, Gary, Dirty Air, after the show today. If he's in here, I'm not sure. I know I saw him a little earlier in the show. So I'm going to text him today. I'm jacked up for that, man. My weekend's going to be epic. Epic. I'm going to take some content. Won't be the same type of content, but epic. I'm just super excited. I got garage and pit passes for the NASCAR race in Dover, Delaware this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, I'll be there. The race is on Sunday. I'm super pumped up. And that's all thanks to one of our great viewers. You guys know him in the chat, Dirty Air, who got me the passes and is sending me and my brother to the event. So I really can't thank him enough. All right. I can't thank him enough. So that's huge. That's massive. So I'm really excited. Earplugs, Slagger, I'll get them, bro. I will get them. I will get them. So I'm looking forward to it. Any car meets? Not this weekend. I will say, Tony, me and my brother are interested in that Carlisle event you sent. So maybe we'll do that together in August. Wear some sunscreen. Hey, do I look like the kind of guy that wears sunscreen? Seriously, do I look like the kind of guy that goes out in the sun, takes a bunch of white fluid, and rubs it all over myself? Do I look like that kind of guy, Abe? Seriously. Is that what I look like? Holy shit. Fucking dude's talking about lathering me up in sunscreen. My mom's 100% Italian. I got, see, my camera changes. I'm telling you, my camera changes my complexion. It really does. I got a nice tan. I got a nice tan right now. All right? I got a nice tan right now. What do you think I am? Yes, you look like a guy who protects himself from skin cancer. Turn it up, God. I want to feel the burn. Prince, I knew you'd pick up on it. I love how you guys chirp me for my idiosyncrasies. Yo, Curtis, relax, big guy. I haven't yet, Preston, but I will. Wait, is that where you are, South Jersey, bro? Because we could easily meet up there. Easily meet up there for a car show or something. I love these people. It's like, unless you lather with sunscreen or with sunscreen, you're going to get skin cancer. I don't know about that. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, it's possible. Fucking anything is possible. It's possible I walk outside and die. It's possible that Jesus returns today. There's a lot of things that are possible. You're like Johnny Mac, Zeal. You're like, I'm trying to improve your odds. Whatever. You keep the lather over on your side. Okay, I'll be all right. All right. I'll be all right. Look at Abe. Oh man, that's funny. Zay, you look like Ricky Bobby's first interview. What do I do with my hands? No, I'm a very handsy talker. I talk with my hands, and I'm proud of that. You know, it's funny. I was in a weird environment this week. 25 minutes from Ocean City. Be present. I was just in Ocean City all week. That's where my 5 things I love and don't love about my vet. That's where that video is recorded, Ocean City. That's where my girl is. But I was in a weird environment the other day. And I was editing actually one of my car videos on my MacBook. And obviously I'm talking with my hands in the video. That's how I talk. I talk with my hands. And this random girl who I've never talked to, has no clue what I do, has no clue why I do it, has no clue who I am. I had zero interest in her opinion or her thoughts on anything I was doing. Looks over my shoulder at my computer screen, right? Like, this is legitimately what happened. Looks over my shoulder at the video I'm editing. And I'm talking with my hands in the clip as I'm editing it. She can't hear it at all. She just sees it because I had my headphones. And she goes, "Oh, I hate that. I hate your hand movement." I looked at this bitch. I'm like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Do I look like I give a fuck what you think of my hand movements? Do I look like I give a rat's ass? Shoo, fly. Shoo. Get out of here. Fuck it, eh? Yeah, exactly, Prince. The ultimate Karen. First off, I hate people who look over people's shoulder. on the phone, on the computer, whatever it is. Yo, back off. All right? Back off. And then she's got the audacity to say that shit. And I literally looked at her like she had 15 heads. I'm like, huh? What do you do? Huh? What do you do? Do you make content for a living? Okay. On to the next. I mean, you got to be kidding me, man. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, stuff like that, though, I will say this. I get such a kick out of it, man. Like, I literally laughed about that for a good hour. First off, I'm like, the audacity of this. I shouldn't be so rude. The audacity of this B word. To say that over my damn shoulder on something she's got no idea what I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, who I'm doing it for, what I'm making off it. Nothing. She doesn't know a thing. I gave her a little more than the stink eye for sure. That's funny. She should mind her own business. That's what I said. Pretty funny though. Pretty funny though. I don't need to hit her with that, Abe. She can. That's all right. All right. That's all right. It was funny, though. I wanted to share that story because it was funny. But yes, I talk with my hands. Get used to it. If you don't like it, I'll see you later. You'll be like that woman who was talking over my shoulder. Texas says that was her way of flirting with you. Well, yeah, it ain't working. I got a beautiful girl. I don't need her. Xander, which games do you think the Eagles will get with Kelly Green? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what games they'll choose. I know you would, Prince. All right. It's been a fun show. I got some errands to run today because I got the NASCAR this weekend. So I got to make sure I got everything in the till. I got to hit Best Buy. I got to buy something from Best Buy today. I ordered some new mics, not for here, but for my other content because I was using somebody let me borrow the mics, and those mics are so damn good on my car video. For those who checked out my car video, by the way, it's running. Yo, B. Preston, that video is on the move. I think it's up over 2,000 now. Yep, 2.4K. That first video is up to 15K or 16K. 16.3K. Yo, Zeal, me too. I love Best Buy. Zeal, I could be in Best Buy all day. I love Best Buy. So much shit in there, dude. So much shit. 2.4K, B. Preston, on that, on the 5 things I love and hate about my C8 Corvette. So 2283 on subscribers. I'm cooking over there, folks. I'm cooking. I've gained how many in the last 7 days? 180 subscribers in the last 7 days. 30,000 views. 2,000 watch hours. So I'm getting close to that monetization, man. I'm already getting close to that monetization. So I'm excited. I'm excited to do it, man. Enjoy your weekend, football family. Kimberly, you too. I appreciate you very much. I appreciate you more than the anonymous Karen Biatch who I had to deal with earlier in the week. Thank you, Kimberly. All right. What was the best thing you bought at Best Buy? Robert, I bought a lot of things from Best Buy. I go on my Best Buy account at the end of every year for my tax man, for my accountant, and I say, here's the list of things I've purchased at Best Buy this year. He says, holy crap, that's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. No, it's not the mic, JT. It's weird. His software broke, and we tried 3 different browsers, and I'm not in California, so I can't troubleshoot it myself. He's like mentally challenged when it comes to using a computer. It's a catastrophe. I've been trying to figure it out all week. All right? I've been trying to figure it out all week. Zeal, so true. Every time I go there, I'm afraid I'm going to walk out with a new TV. Actually, Zeal, last time I was there, that's exactly what happened. And I didn't even need the damn TV. It was like a great deal on a 4K UHD or whatever it is, the top one. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to pick that up. So I got to be careful in there today, Zeal. Zeal, today, you know what my method was today to limit what I spent? I did the order before, so I just got the email like literally 30 minutes ago. Yeah, 9:36 a.m. this came in. It says, your order is ready for pickup. So I did kind of the order on and go pick up. So I can't like browse the shelves. I just go in, pick it up, walk out, hopefully. Probably not, though. Probably not. So that was my method today, Zeal. Preston, thanks for your comments over there. Tony's been watching over there. Jason, A-Team dropped a comment on that video. A-Team, thank you for commenting over on ZK's Garage. A couple of other you guys I've seen over there. Don't have to worry now. TV won't fit in the vet. That's true. When I had the pickup truck, I never had an issue. Will that fit? Oh, it'll fit. Will this fit? Don't worry. It'll fit. Oh, man. Now I got the fit. So I had a crazy offer on a deal for an F-150 Lightning, the electric one, and I would never be an electric truck guy. But the deal was absurd. It was like a lease. It was $240 a month for 24 months, 7,500 miles a year, which is way too low in miles. But with a second car, hey, maybe I could make it work. Now, the thing was, it was a service loaner at the dealership. My mom worked at the dealership. That's why I got access to the offer. And I was like, wait a second. $240 a month for a pickup truck? What? Should I like do that? Like I like really considered walking up in there and getting another car. $240. I was like, yeah, that is like $240. Have you guys seen car prices nowadays? But Abe, am I gonna drive around an F-150 Lightning? Do I look like that? I just told you guys I'm not the cheese ball to lather myself in sunscreen. Do I look like the type of dude to pull up in a Lightning? Hey guys, I'm here in my electric truck. Yeah, I don't know about that. I had to rethink that one. Oh, Eagle fan, you missed a good one. You missed a good one. You missed a good one today. Jimbo says, Xander, did you see the Chris Long interview on Exciting Whites? It's really good. The guy loves Philly. I didn't see it. I'll check it out though, Jimbo. I'm actually a big Chris Long fan. I think he does a great job on his shows, and I think he's just a pretty cool dude in general. All right. Great call. I'll make sure my dad's with me to talk me out of stuff. See, my problem is when me and my dad go, it might be worse. Might be worse. I got the dopest dad in the world. I really do. I really do. It's funny because I do what my dad did for a living, but he never like pushed me into that. Like some people think I was like, oh, you just do what your dad did. Like I had this like whole journey from my life. I've always been very entrepreneurial. I've told you guys some of the stories of my younger days, but I've had this whole journey of like going through these different walks of life and trying these different businesses as an entrepreneur and doing all of these different things. And ultimately it ended up with me being here. But none of that was my dad saying, come and do what I do. It was always, whatever you do, I'm going to support you in it. I think you're going to be great at it. Like it was that type of love. And my dad's always supported me to the fullest extent. And then it ended up that the thing I've enjoyed most, the thing I've had the most success in, the thing that I get the most fulfillment out of is in the same industry that he's been in for 40 years. Like, I think that's pretty dope. You know, some people would look at that and be like, oh, you just did that because it's what your dad did. It's actually not the case. When I was a youngster, I tried to do something different. I was like, oh, I don't want to do what dad does. Let me do this. Let me forge my own path. And, you know, it was cool. It was fun. I learned a lot of lessons, but, you know, ultimately I love working with my dad. I love doing what my dad does. My dad always says to me, you're better at this than I ever was. And that's the goal for a son, you know, and I think that's kind of cool. So it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. Prince is like, let me get that deal. Prince is like, yo, I don't give a fuck about an electric. I'll pull up in that $249 a month. Are you kidding me? You know it, Prince. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. I got to go pick up Zale. I'm headed to Best Buy. JT says, just viewed a quick clip of ZK's Garage and subscribe. Thank you, bro. Yo, check out the two videos. The one I posted yesterday, the top 5 things I love and don't love. I love the camera work on that one. That's my shout out to my girl. She's amazing. And she filmed that whole thing for me. So she did such a good job. And then the first one I posted of the title, the thumbnail is C8 Truth, it says. It's got like 16,000 views. check that one out as well. So if you guys watch the videos, try and watch them all the way through. It helps the channel a lot. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Rich says they don't open until 11, Dork. Is that right? I got the email. It's ready for pickup. Come on, Best Buy. Are they 11? It's 10 a.m., bitch. 10 a.m. Fucking nerd. Nerd. Come on, Rich. You know I love you. James Jones! What up, my boy? Yeah, where's Flexen been? Flexen's like, where's this dude been? Seal says, I want to go to Best Buy now. Yeah, you and me both. I'm going. The order was supposed to freaking stop me from browsing. But now, Zeal, you have ruined my what should I say? Not my day, because I'm going to enjoy it. Maybe my bank account's expectations for the day. Because now I'm going to be shopping around in Best Buy. Xander is a smart guy, multiple YouTubes. Thanks, Prince. I'm trying to, bro. Prince, I think I got a gift from God, bro. I really do. I like being on camera. I don't want to be like arrogant or anything, but I it doesn't bother me at all. I feel like I thrive behind a camera a lot more so when I'm outside, honestly, than when I'm even in this environment. Like, this is fun, but I'm behind a mic, a camera, and a studio. Like, when I'm out in the open, I really love being behind the camera. So I view it as one of the gifts that God blessed me with. And how can I use it to create a fulfilling life, to glorify my God, to, help support me, my family, and the people that I love and care about, to make a difference, to improve. Maybe it's a viewer's life. I don't know if I do it all, but you guys all tune in and listen to me every day. I hope I can do something or say something or be of some sort of inspiration or guidance or light for you, however that is. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe I piss you off or whatever it is. So I take that as a badge of honor, I guess you could say. Look at Fredo. Look at this DH. She says he didn't bless you with their hairlines. Yo, Fredo. All right, Anon. Let's see what you got. Huh? I wear it all out in the open. Fredo. Let's see what you got. Huh? Go ahead, Fredo. Post up a pic of yourself, Fredo. Let's see what you got, Fredo. Let's see it, Fredo. I'm an open book. You're an anonymous nerd. All right? Bring me up. You want to come up here? You won't come up here. You're all talk. Fucking hairline's looking damn good if you ask me. Prince, you saying this, dog? Fucking hairline's looking money. Hairline's looking money. Kidding me? Fucking hairline's looking cashola. All right, everybody. I love all you guys. A great week of shows. Training camp next week. Training camp next week. I'm fired up. I am fired up. I'm ready to go. Best Buy, here I come. To the great people of JAKIB Nation. To the great people of ZK's Garage. I love all you guys very much, and I appreciate your support. I say it every single day, but I love you, man. I really do. I appreciate you so freaking much, because without you guys tuning in, without you guys enjoying the content, without you guys clicking in every day, listening to what I have to say, what we have to say, then it all is for naught. So thank you so much. Prince, thank you. Tony, thank you. Fly Eagles Fly, thank you. Nice compliment. I appreciate you. Bird Gang Girl, you know I love you and I appreciate you. Bleeding Green Drakeford, thank you, brother. And everybody in here, I appreciate Jason A-Team, one of our truly best supporters, and now you've supported me on my other channel as well. You know I appreciate you, brother. By the way, Jason, you know I'll happily drive over to Lansdale, pick you up anytime you want to go for a ride, bro. Seriously, I mean that. Not everybody can say that because not everybody's in the area. But I know where you're at. We had the jersey delivery last year. You let me know, A-Team, and I'll come over and swing over, brother, and spend some time with you, one of our best supporters here on the channel. So thank you all so much. Texas, thank you, brother. Thank you all, man. And I'll see you guys next time on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365.
the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.